In a community, two women, Myra and Aliyah, lived with their children. Myra, known for her beauty and charm, had won the heart of a successful merchant, Kai. Aliyah, a quiet and reserved woman, was a childhood friend of Kai, and though she had not caught his eye in the same way, Kai had always been kind to her. As the years passed, the two women found themselves bound by an unexpected connection. They shared the same husband. While Kai spent his time dividing his days between them, the village whispered and gossiped about the unconventional family. Myra and Aliyah both loved Kai, but their hearts were torn with conflicting emotions. Myra cherished the luxury and attention that Kai brought her, while Aliyah was drawn to his gentleness and the comfort of his presence. They had both given birth to children from him, and the village had grown accustomed to seeing Kai moving between their homes. But behind closed doors, there was an unspoken tension between the two women. Myra often questioned Aliyah's quiet acceptance of their shared life, while Aliyah wondered if she had made the right choice in accepting Kai's love. Myra's son, Asher, and Aliyah's daughter, Amelia, played together every day in the fields. Though they were young, they were aware of the unique nature of their family. Asher, who was quick-witted, often teased Amelia about their father's visits to both homes. "Father loves me more," Asher would say with a mischievous grin. Amelia, calm and thoughtful, would reply, "He loves us both, but I wish he were here more." They had learned to accept the situation, but there was an ache in their hearts when Kai was not around. Amelia's desire for a simple life where her parents were together grew stronger each day. She often asked her mother why they couldn't live like other families. Aliyah would gently reply, "Sometimes, life is complicated, and love doesn't always come in the way we expect." Asher, on the other hand, had grown to be proud of the uniqueness of their family. He believed that their father's love was boundless, and he couldn't understand why Amelia sometimes felt sad. One day, Kai sat alone in his study, deep in thought. He loved both women, but he was torn between them. Myra had given him a life of wealth and excitement, while Aliyah had been his anchor in moments of difficulty. He had chosen to marry both, but now, as the years passed, he felt the weight of his decision. His heart was divided, and no matter how much he tried to give both women his love and attention, he could never shake the feeling that someone would eventually be hurt. In his mind, he knew there had to be a better way. Kai often wondered if there was a future where Myra and Aliyah could both find happiness outside of their shared marriage. He longed for a peaceful resolution, but the thought of losing one of them was unbearable. The guilt of his divided heart weighed heavily on him, and he realized that he was not only hurting himself but also the women he loved and their children. As the years passed, the tension between Myra and Aliyah grew. Myra, once content with their arrangement, now resented the moments when Kai would spend more time with Aliyah. She felt as though Aliyah had been stealing her happiness, and her jealousy turned into bitterness. "He loves you more," Myra would often mutter to Aliyah, though she never said it aloud. Aliyah, on the other hand, began to withdraw, retreating into her quiet world. She questioned whether it was worth it to continue living in a relationship that only brought her pain. The village, once accepting of their unusual arrangement, now began to question the stability of the family. Gossip spread like wildfire, and people began to feel sorry for the children who were caught in the middle. Kai, witnessing the growing tension, knew that something had to change. But the more he tried to resolve the issue, the further apart the two women seemed to drift. One evening, Kai invited Myra and Aliyah to sit with him under the stars. He had something important to discuss. "I can no longer carry this weight," he confessed, his voice filled with regret. "I love both of you, but I see the pain in your eyes. You both deserve more than this divided life." Myra, her heart pounding, looked at Aliyah. "What are you asking for, Kai?" she asked, her voice trembling. Aliyah, calm as always, spoke up first. "Perhaps it's time for us to find our own paths," she suggested. "We both deserve happiness, not a life built on a shared love." Myra looked at Aliyah, feeling a wave of emotion wash over her. For the first time in years, she understood Aliyah's quiet acceptance. "You're right," Myra said softly. "Perhaps this is the only way for us to find peace." Kai listened, his heart heavy with the realization that the life they had built could no longer continue in its current form. It was time for each of them to take a different path, even if it meant pain and sacrifice. The decision to part ways was not an easy one. Myra and Aliyah each took their children and began new lives. Kai, torn between his love for both women, promised to support them both from a distance. The village, once filled with whispers about the shared husband, now buzzed with sympathy for the women and children who were starting anew. Myra moved to a nearby city, where she built a new life for herself and Asher. Aliyah stayed in the village, raising Amelia on her own, finding strength in her solitude. Though the separation was difficult, both women slowly began to heal. Myra found fulfillment in her independence, while Aliyah rediscovered the joy of being a mother without the weight of sharing her husband. Kai, too, found peace in knowing that his decision, though painful, had brought a sense of closure to their complicated lives. Myra, now living in the city, watched Asher grow into a confident young man. Though she missed Kai's presence, she had come to realize that her happiness did not depend on him. Asher, understanding the challenges his mother had faced, had become a compassionate and understanding young man. He often spoke of his father with love but knew that their family was different from others, and that was okay. Myra's heart swelled with pride as she saw the man her son was becoming. Amelia, too, was growing into a young woman, her heart shaped by the quiet strength of her mother, Aliyah. Aliyah had always taught Amelia to value inner peace and self-reliance, and Amelia carried those lessons with her as she navigated life. She had learned to love herself first, and in doing so, had come to understand that happiness could be found in solitude as much as in love. Years later, Kai invited Myra and Aliyah to meet him one last time. They both agreed, curious about what he had to say. When they met, Kai stood before them, a look of deep remorse in his eyes. "I've learned something important," he began. "Love is not about possession, but about respect. I see now that I was selfish in thinking that I could divide myself between you both. You both deserved more than that." Myra and Aliyah listened in silence, their hearts mixed with emotions. "Kai, we've both found peace," Aliyah said, her voice calm but firm. "We no longer need your love to complete us. We are complete on our own." Myra nodded in agreement. "It's taken us a long time, but we understand now. Love is about freedom, not control." Kai, overwhelmed with guilt, nodded and promised to let go of the past. He had finally understood that true love could only exist in freedom, not in a shared commitment that limited their growth. As time passed, both women flourished in their new lives. Myra, with her son Asher, opened a small business and became a respected member of her community. Aliyah, raising Amelia with love and patience, became known as a wise woman whose advice was sought by many. The village, which had once whispered about their unconventional family, now admired the strength and resilience of both women. Kai, too, had changed. He realized that love, in its truest form, did not demand possession or control. It required respect, space, and understanding. He had lost both women, but in doing so, had found a deeper understanding of love. His life, though solitary, was now filled with the lessons he had learned from Myra and Aliyah. Asher, having inherited his mother's strength and ambition, became a leader in the city. He often thought about his father, but he never felt resentment. He understood the complexities of life, and as an adult, he found peace in knowing that his parents had done the best they could. Amelia, with her gentle wisdom, had become a healer in the village. She had learned from her mother that true peace comes from within, and she dedicated her life to helping others find that peace. Though they had grown up in different circumstances, both Asher and Amelia carried the same message: love is not about ownership, but about freedom, respect, and self-discovery. They became friends as they traveled the world, sharing their stories of family, love, and growth. Years later, the village where Aliyah had lived became a place of quiet reflection. People came from all around to hear her wisdom, and her story became a legend. Aliyah's life, once filled with pain and uncertainty, had transformed into a testament to the strength of a mother's love and the power of self-reliance. Myra, too, had become a symbol of resilience, a woman who had overcome the challenges of a divided life to find success and happiness on her own. The children of the village often spoke of Myra and Aliyah as examples of true strength. They taught the younger generations that life was not about holding on to people, but about learning to let go when necessary. The lessons of love and freedom lived on through the stories shared by the children, who grew up knowing that their parents' struggles had shaped a legacy of peace. On the anniversary of their parting, Kai returned to the village to visit the graves of Myra and Aliyah. Though they had both passed on, their legacies lived in the hearts of the community. He had never married again, choosing instead to dedicate his life to helping others understand the lessons he had learned. He visited Amelia's healing center and Asha's business, both of which had flourished, and he realized that though he had lost both women, he had gained a greater understanding of the meaning of love. Asha and Amelia, now adults, had become close friends, often sharing stories about their mothers and how their shared history had shaped them. They had both learned to embrace the complexities of life, knowing that love could be painful, but also deeply transformative. Before his death, Kai gathered his loved ones around him and shared his final lesson. "True love is not about ownership or control," he said softly. "It is about growth, freedom, and respect. If you love someone, set them free to become their truest self. Only then can love truly flourish." Amelia and Asha nodded in agreement, knowing that Kai's words were the final gift he could give them. As Kai passed away, the village mourned his loss but also celebrated the wisdom he had gained. His story, once filled with selfishness and regret, had transformed into one of redemption and understanding. The village grew into a place where people came to learn the lessons of Myra, Aliyah, Kai, Asha, and Amelia. Their story became a symbol of the importance of respecting one's self and others in relationships. The children who grew up hearing their story knew that love was not something to be controlled, but something to be nurtured with respect and kindness. Life in the village continued, but the lessons of love and freedom remained at the heart of its people. The memory of the shared husband and the two mothers who had learned to live independently served as a reminder that love, in its purest form, is about growth and freedom, not possession. The moral of the story of the shared husband teaches us that love cannot be divided. True love is not about possession or control but about respecting the freedom of others and allowing them to grow. Sometimes, the most loving decision is to let go and give each person the space to become their best self. In doing so, love can flourish in ways we never expected.